KXXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2, Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21 12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. It means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Working towards the weekend, and glad you're hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And lots to do as we wrap up the first full week of 2025. Preston Guy coming along in 15 minutes talking some LSU football. We got to talk about what looks like an awesome NFL wildcard weekend. Like, y'all know me. I'm a 6 out of 10 on the NFL. I like it. I watch it. I don't obsess over it. I'm not grinding it each and every Sunday all day long. But you look at this slate that's coming up this weekend, it's awesome. And I'm excited to talk about it and to watch it this weekend. The Saints have wrapped up an interview with Aaron Glenn. That's certainly worth mentioning at the end of this hour. Sam Hutchins is going to be along at the top of hour number 2. He covers the Ole Miss Rebels for the Jackson Clarion Ledger, and we'll talk LSU Ole Miss from the Pavilion tomorrow evening. I don't love the Tigers' chances in this one. After doing a little research on the Rebs, we'll talk to Sam Hutchins about what's going on there in Oxford at 2 o'clock. We've got another college football playoff game to talk about tonight. And I'm pumped up about that. Texas and Ohio State from cold and snowy Dallas. So loads and loads to get to. We appreciate you hanging out with us. We'll start the same way we start each and every day. That is with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
I did not anticipate opening my show with this today, but it just kind of became necessary is too strong, but recommended, I would say. I felt compelled to start the show this way. I think a lot of you, myself very much included, were watching the college football playoff last night, and I thought it was awesome. You got 2 massive fan bases, 2 huge brands, iconic uniforms, starving programs to climb the mountain for the first time since the late 80s, physical football teams, great stage. It was awesome. And then the game delivered an incredibly compelling 4 hours of television. It was awesome. I loved every second of it. Don't have any feelings really at all towards Penn State. Not strong feelings for or against Notre Dame. I don't love Notre Dame because of the preferential treatment I think they get, but I don't really care that much about Notre Dame. And so the game ended. I didn't have a preference who won the game. And then you start to see the takes rolling out on the internet. And it wasn't like one, it was multiple takes on the internet. Nicole Auerbach kind of got the snowball going, and I tweeted after that. And it kind of turned into Marcus Freeman has elevated Notre Dame's program to beyond what Brian Kelly did, and Brian Kelly left Notre Dame, and look how foolish he looks now. That was kind of the tone. And I'm kind of looking at that going, okay, let me analyze this. And here's what it comes down to. There are 2 different parts of this equation. One is Brian Kelly's 3-year tenure at LSU. It's a local story. There's not one person that's an LSU fan, that covers LSU, that's a Minnesota Golden Gophers fan, that's a national football analyst. No one thinks that LSU, through 3 years of Brian Kelly, has reached the potential of this program. No one. No one thinks going to the ReliaQuest Bowl with a Heisman Trophy winner is great. No one thinks winning the Texas Bowl means squat in Baton Rouge. That's not even a debate. Brian Kelly has not reached the potential of this program in his time at Baton Rouge. That is beyond debate for anyone. And the second part of the take that I'm inferring off of the internet's churning machine is that Marcus Freeman has very much elevated Notre Dame to a level Brian Kelly couldn't, and that Brian Kelly, in a way, held Notre Dame back from what they could be. Those are 2 separate discussions. People try to blend them into one, but they're 2 very different discussions. I put one of them to bed. Brian Kelly hasn't gotten it done in Baton Rouge. That doesn't mean he won't. I'm not telling you he will, but he hasn't. That part done. The next part of this equation is, okay, has Marcus Freeman elevated Notre Dame to a level that Brian Kelly couldn't? Well, let's talk about it. Marcus Freeman has gotten Notre Dame to a national championship game. Brian Kelly did that and got annihilated. Marcus Freeman has won a national semifinal. Brian Kelly reached 2 of those and got annihilated. So Marcus Freeman has done something that Brian Kelly didn't do, which is win a semifinal, but he hasn't gotten all the way to the top of the mountain. So let's analyze those 2 achievements, shall we? When Brian Kelly got Notre Dame to a national final in 2012, I mentioned he got annihilated. He did. Alabama beat Notre Dame 42-14. Do you know who was on that Alabama team? Let's look at it. It was A.J. McCarron and Eddie Lacy and T.J. Yeldon behind an offensive line that featured Chance Warmack, first-team All-American, Cyrus Kwanjo, All-American, DJ Fluker, 5-star pro, Amari Cooper. On the defense had D. Milliner, Trey DePriest, Reggie Ragland, Clinton Dix, Landon Collins. I mean, that was a machine. That was prime Saban. Y'all know it very well here in Baton Rouge. And Notre Dame got destroyed. He got back to the semifinal, Kelly did, in 2018, went 12-0 that year, and they played Clemson. They lost 30-3. They got annihilated. You know who was on that Clemson team? Trevor Lawrence, first pick in the draft. Travis Etienne, ACC's all-time touchdown leader. T. Higgins on the offense. Heard of him? Cleveland Farrell, Dexter Lawrence, Christian Wilkins, first-team All-Americans, first-round picks on the defensive line. What did that Clemson team that beat Kelly 30-3 do a week later? They went out to California and beat Alabama 44-16. That's just a fact. And then in 2020, Kelly got back to the semifinal, and he got crushed 31-14 by Alabama. Who was on that Bama team? Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, John Mechie, Najee Harris, Landon Dickerson on the offensive line, Alex Leatherwood and Evan Neal, first-round picks on the offensive line. The defense featured Patrick Surtain, who's the best defensive back in the NFL right now. Will Anderson, pretty good player there. Christian Barmore. What did that Bama team do a week later? They beat Ohio State 52-24. Pretty good. So yes, Marcus Freeman won a semifinal. That's something Brian Kelly couldn't do. He lost to Clemson, a 44-16 national champ a week later, and he lost to Bama, a 52-24 national champion a week later. Now, you look at who Marcus Freeman beat last night. Did you watch Drew Aller play? Do you think that Penn State team that got to that point by beating SMU and Boise State is on that level? I'm asking. I'm not telling you what's what. I'm asking. Do you think that Notre Dame beating that team in a semifinal is a different level than Brian Kelly was able to elevate Notre Dame to? That's a question for you to answer. I know what I think. I think Riley Leonard running for 4 yards at a time and throwing 2 egregious interceptions is going to have a tough time against the 2 teams I just laid out in semifinals, and certainly the Bama team in 2012. That's my opinion. I believe that Marcus Freeman has done a wonderful job at Notre Dame this year. I think they've won close games. I think they play good defense. I think they do what they need to on offense. I think their 2 coordinators are fantastic. I think Freeman's done a great job, and I think Notre Dame is on the precipice of playing for a national championship. That's all my opinion. I don't think that's too tough to agree with. I also think that this is a comparable looking Notre Dame team to what I saw Brian Kelly trot out there for a decade. I think my opinion is that the sport, the top of the sport, has come back closer to Notre Dame as opposed to Notre Dame taking 2 or 3 steps up. That's my opinion today. Now, if Ohio State beats Texas tonight by 20 points and then Notre Dame goes to the national championship game and beats Ohio State, I will shut up. And I will tell you that Marcus Freeman has done something Brian Kelly proved he could not in South Bend. That has nothing to do with what Brian Kelly does in Baton Rouge. But in terms of South Bend, yes, Marcus Freeman will have proven me wrong. But to this point, Marcus Freeman has taken this classic Notre Dame schedule that they put together on their own without a conference. He lost to Northern Illinois. He ran through a bunch of mediocre football teams, including a Florida State and USC team that just aren't what they could be. He got to the playoff. He won a home game against Indiana. He went to the Superdome and played Georgia and played a good game and beat a backup quarterback and won that football game. And that's a solid win. And then you played Penn State, who everybody has claimed for a decade can't get anything done in big games, and then beat SMU and Boise State. And now we're claiming that Marcus Freeman has elevated Notre Dame to a spot that Brian Kelly couldn't do it. I just don't believe that. I could be proven wrong in a week, and I'll absolutely sit here and eat crow. But as I sit here today, I think that Marcus Freeman has just kind of continued what Brian Kelly did. Brian Kelly usually won 9, 10, 11, 12 games. He usually had Notre Dame in the discussion in December and wasn't afforded a 12-team playoff. It was 4. He got in there 3 times, and I believe ran up against juggernaut teams with far better personnel, and they didn't compete. And nobody competed with the teams that he lost to. I just told you that. I think Marcus Freeman is doing a really good job at Notre Dame. I don't know that he's outpacing Brian Kelly. And here is my kind of wrap on this entire thing. To me, my take is not a hot one. It's not a sizzling one. It's, hey, good job, Marcus Freeman. Really solid stuff. Good coordinators. Solid wins. Got a chance to do something great. I don't think that's a hot take. The take that I find the hottest is, hey, Brian Kelly bailed on Notre Dame, and he's a failure at LSU, and Marcus Freeman's got them doing way better than he ever did. I find that to be a hot take. We'll find out. And I'm excited to do it. But I don't really care personally. You see, if you're watching on YouTube, you see the jacket that I've got on. It's purple and gold. You know where my allegiance lies. You understand the color glasses that I put on. I don't care what Marcus Freeman does at Notre Dame. I only care what Brian Kelly does at LSU. I don't care what Brian Kelly did at Notre Dame. I only care what he does at LSU. I don't have to continue to play this juggling game of who won the trade-off. It's like I don't care what Brian Kelly and Billy Napier are doing at the same time. I don't care what Ed Ogeron and Tom Herman are doing at the same time. What is the LSU guy doing? That's all I care about. And I feel like most people in Baton Rouge share that sentiment. But the national media, which does not like Brian Kelly, because he's aloof, because he can get animated on the sideline, and because a lot of people don't like Notre Dame, they're taking it and running with it. And it draws a lot of engagement on social media, no question about it. But I think if you just take a second to look at this whole situation, I think it's reasonable to suggest Notre Dame's kind of where they've been for 15 years. And that's a credit to Brian Kelly and Marcus Freeman, because guess what Notre Dame was before the last 15 years? They were asleep for 2 decades. Bob Davie and Tyrone Willingham, Charlie Weiss getting dusted in big-time games. Kelly revived that. Freeman's extended it. Good for Kelly, good for Freeman. We'll see what Notre Dame can do in the final game of the season. If Freeman can win that game, you take the banner. If they get beat by 25, Notre Dame's right back to square one. The square one that Kelly started, not the square one that Bob Davie created. That's our opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot, online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Come back with Preston Guy, tigerbait.com, next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Speaking of Genesis of Baton Rouge, I'll tell you about Genesis of Baton Rouge again right this very minute. Love my friends over at Genesis of Baton Rouge. When you think Genesis, think luxury. It is absolutely a luxury brand of vehicles. I know that when I say luxury vehicle, there are some brands that pop into your mind. Make Genesis one of those. And if you're in the market, make one extra stop right there on Airline Highway. Get behind the wheel. Let one of those brand ambassadors show you all the incredible features that are in those Genesis of Baton Rouge, whether it's the awesome, cool bells and whistles that you can get behind the wheel and look at, or those crucial safety components that Genesis is so proud of. Every single Genesis purchase that you make over at Genesis Baton Rouge comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty and 3 years of complimentary maintenance. And furthermore, 3 years of valet complimentary maintenance so that you can have them come get your car, bring it to the dealership, they can service it, bring it right back to you. Just the ease and the comfort is part of being a Genesis driver. Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check them out online, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 9.
You're listening to The Hun Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp bring you our Friday shows each and every week. Got to talk about the NFL weekend to come. Big semifinal tonight from Dallas. That's to come as well. We'll talk some LSU football. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, joins us every single Friday, and he's with us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Preston, how are you?
Good. How's it going? I'd be doing better if my social feeds weren't as much online bullying and harassment as it is currently.
Yeah, that happens sometimes on the old interwebs. I just addressed that entire situation with my lead. I kind of prefaced it with I don't really care what Notre Dame does. I'm more concerned with what Brian Kelly does in Baton Rouge. What's your take on Marcus Freeman's coaching job and where he's got Notre Dame playing for a title?
Yeah, I mean, look, I had to take some time to kind of write out my thoughts here because there's a lot of them, you know. Number one, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm not impressed with the job that Marcus Freeman has done, particularly following that Northern Illinois loss and bouncing back from that. It seems like he's done a good job. I also think that the NIL era plays a lot in Notre Dame's success here. You've seen the kind of grad transfer quarterbacks and quality players they've been able to bring in. And frankly, that was something that was just getting started when Brian Kelly was there. So that's always going to be one element to this conversation, that it's just the programs and their ability to bring in talent has changed tremendously. But, I don't exactly want to dive too far into that. We can just compare, what they've done as coaches. And, frankly, Brian Kelly made it to the playoffs twice and made it to the national championship a third time, right? So to say, he hasn't made it to the stage is incorrect. Now, the other thing I look at is look at the path that Notre Dame got to get here. Okay, we're talking about an Indiana team who we all know, if it weren't for an expanded playoff, they would have never gotten a chance. It would have been one of those teams where, okay, go enjoy your Orange Bowl, whatever, BCS/New Year's Six Bowl, and then go enjoy beating whoever, right? But they got a chance at a big stage against a good team, and they got the doors blasted up. Georgia with a backup quarterback, also a Georgia team that is not at its peak even when it is fully healthy. We're talking about a 3-loss Georgia team with a backup quarterback. And then, of course, last night, Penn State, they complete 0 balls to wide receivers. I think Penn State is certainly an admirable team. I don't think they're a top 4 or 5 type quality team out there. But, when you can't complete a single pass to a wide receiver, I think that speaks all you need to know. Drew Aller just was an absolute liability last night. Hit the running back low on an easy touchdown, which would have been the difference. He threw 3 interceptable balls, 2 of them. He got bailed out by, PI on the play. So I think we really think Brian Kelly never put together a team in Notre Dame, in South Bend, that would have won these 3 games. But just to be honest, so no, I'm not necessarily buying that the conversation is over. Marcus Freeman's a better coach, and there's another element, but that's only half of the argument. Is what Marcus Freeman's doing in Notre Dame. Let's say Marcus Freeman does have a more successful tenure than Brian Kelly there. That just means Marcus Freeman's a great coach. It doesn't mean Brian Kelly is a bad coach. What really is going to define Brian Kelly, what he does at LSU.
All right, Preston, we're going to reconnect with you. I got you, but the connection's not great, so we'll call you right back. I want to remind you all our Friday show is brought to you by Corks Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. All your catering, they can help you out with all of that. Big trays of that crispy fried catfish, jumbo Gulf shrimp, crispy shoestring fries as well. You can check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. Got a birthday party coming up. I want to feed the office, or just having a game-watching party for NFL playoffs or the bowl games, whatnot. Corks can always help you out with your big orders. Maybe you just got a Hester-sized family. They can help you with that as well. If you're looking for a po' boy, get on by government between Foster and Jefferson. Corksfishandshrimp.com. Preston, I think we got you back now, so let's talk about LSU. Obviously, the transfer portal's still kind of churning. We know LSU had some defensive back visitors over the weekend. Over the week. It is approaching the weekend. Where are they headed over the next couple of weeks with transfers?
Well, they're currently working on the transfer out of North Carolina State to Marcus Cooley, basically as hard as they can. He's a very good player at their biggest position of need. That would be an absolutely monumental gain for LSU. I'm hearing the visit did go well, but we all know how, dollar signs in this stage are what really matter. Keontae Scott was another good piece out of Auburn. And frankly, I think you need both those guys. They also brought in the backup tight end out of Texas A&M that I think would make a ton of sense. I just don't think you need to overextend because you've got 2 tight end guys there. But, ultimately, you're getting pretty close to a good roster here at LSU. I think the biggest glaring hole you have is safety at this point.
I do too, and I'm curious your thoughts. And when you look at Cooley, when you look at Mansour Delane, and then you look at Deshaun Spears, and how do you think those chess pieces move around, and who plays safety? What does the nickel look like? What does all that look like?
Well, there was a day and age where, if you're a true sophomore and you have to spend a year learning the game before you're ready to play, it wasn't a big deal. And that's kind of what I would like to see with Spears, is either bring in a veteran transfer who's ready to play now and let him develop. He flashed talent, but in this day and age, it's like if you're not starting within 2 years, that's a death sentence. So I don't necessarily understand it. If we're talking about the defensive backfield, I guess we include that star position in there. I'd really like to see Harold Perkins at least give that a try. I think that's the worst kept secret right now, is that he's probably going to get first look at that. And then corner, I like Delane. And, I like Jakeem Jackson as well, but he might have to play safety based on who they get. And then DJ Pickett. And understand all three of those guys I just named, it's plausible that any of them rotate into safety. And then outside of that, you've got Spears there. You still have Jordan Gilbert on your team. And then I think at a minimum, you need one safety to come fill that spot.
In tight ends, you mentioned, do you think that they're going to add a big physical tight end, and how integral is that going to be in next year's offense?
Yeah, I think the most closest thing you're going to have to that is Bauer Sharp from Oklahoma. I don't know that J.D. LaFleur is ready to come in and give you those reps. I do think one day he'll be that, but you're probably going to have – I think Tre'Davious Green will still be your starting tight end. I don't think he's coming off the field. I don't think they want to be too telegraphic with, okay, we're running. The running tight end is in the game. He's going to have to put on a little bit of weight and be able to throw a semblance of a block. But I think ultimately, Tre'Davious Green's going to be the guy to look to there, and he's not going to be a block first guy. I do think Bauer Sharp is going to have to come in and supplement that a little bit.
Chatting with Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, with us every Friday talking some LSU football. Are those the only two positions you think, or is there maybe a wild card up LSU's sleeve outside of tight end and safety?
Well, and I think it's safety by a wide margin, and then tight end, it's really only this system really uses more than two tight ends. You know what I mean? Offensive tackle, I think they could go with one offensive tackle, and I'm talking a starting quality player, not a depth piece, because they've got depth, they've got young players there. I just don't know if they have full confidence in Weston Davis and his ability to be a starter next season. So I'll go with that as my top three. You need an offensive tackle, you need a safety, and you need a depth piece at tight end.
Anybody in the high school ranks that they're going to look to, and it's crazy that as of 5 years ago, this was all we were talking about in January, and now we don't talk about it at all.
Yeah, no, it's one of the biggest travesties, because mid-February was just like Christmas for us junkies back in the day, man. The bash and all that good stuff, dude. The flips, it was crazy. But, no, I don't. Nothing's on my radar right now. That's not to say they won't get one. I especially think about, is there some quarterback, that they bring in just to add a guy with this class who's out there. But, yeah, I don't have anything on my radar right now in terms of high school class for 2025.
Crazy, because this, as you said, used to be that time of the year. I know we talked about it earlier last week, but let everybody know what they expect from you over the next couple of weeks over on YouTube.
Yeah, y'all come check us out the rest of the month. We'll be closing out our show on the football-only show that I do with Zach Nagy Monday nights at 8 p.m. We like to do January, so we get the coaching changes and, if they add any high school kids and transfer portal. Then after that, you can always check me out on Twitter, and you can check out all my writing at TigerBait.com. That goes year-round. It's just the live show ends, and you can always check out our YouTube channel for Mike Scarborough and Buddy Sanji. They do their weekly show where they do all the sports on Wednesday night.
He's Preston Guy, as he mentioned, TigerBait.com with us every single Friday. Have a great weekend.
You too, Hunt. See you soon.
Sounds very good. We got some troubling breaking news we'll get to in the next segment. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, safety's a big deal in the bathroom, and I talk about this a couple times a week because I think it rings true for a lot of people. If there's a loved one in your life that lives at home, wants to stay there, but the bathroom could be a hazardous spot, let David Duvall and his team come in and mitigate some of those hazards. Non-slip floors, handrails on slippery areas, walk-in tubs, benches in the shower. These are type of things that David Duvall and his team do all the time, and it may make a big difference. It doesn't hurt to have the conversation. Certainly doesn't cost anything. David Duvall and his team will love to come in and chat about what you're looking for, what they can do. You can talk about pricing, and there are financing options available. 18 months interest-free if you qualify for it. It's all at One Bath and Closets. Get that free consultation today and check out some of the pictures. They're fantastic work. It's One Bath and Closets. You can find them at onebathandclosets.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Construction and Roofing. This is Coach Kim Mulkey. Go to parishbuilt.com for all of your roofing needs. From your hometown, parishbuilt.com.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Some very, very troubling news coming across the wire. Chris Nakamoto at WAFB has this report as of 25 minutes ago. The headline of the story is LSU standout Kiren Lacy wanted on charges of negligent homicide, felony hit and run. The story reads that state police have issued an arrest warrant for Kiren Lacy, and in that warrant, he's wanted on charges of negligent homicide, felony hit and run, following a December 17th traffic crash that killed a former Marine and 2 others were injured, according to Louisiana State Police. After causing the crash, allegedly, Lacy sped from the scene and did not report his involvement to police. Reading further from the report, it says that Lacy was illegally passing other vehicles, and the driver of a northbound truck abruptly had to brake and swerve to avoid hitting him. And in the process of swerving to avoid hitting Lacy, allegedly what happened was 2 other cars became in a hit and run, which resulted in the death of Herman Hall, a Thibodeau native and 78-year-old former Marine. Again, this came across the wire as we were talking to Preston, so I'm digesting it at the same time that you are. It's certainly tragic with a loss of life to a 78-year-old who served our country. There are 2 others that were injured. I'm looking at the location of the crash, and it says it's on Louisiana Highway 20. I searched that, and it says that Louisiana Highway 20. I'm not familiar with it, but it does go through Terrebonne Parish, Lafourche Parish, and St. James Parish. Lacy is, of course, a Thibodaux native, so it would stand to reason he was down there close to where he grew up. Obviously, this is, 1, tragic for the victims involved, and 2, has huge implications on Kiren Lacy's future. He, as the story reads, and I would have to go back and look this up, but I'm confident that Chris Nakamoto has this part of it right. It's very easy to go look up. But the crash happened on December the 17th, and Lacy declared for the NFL draft on the 19th. Just tragic stuff here. And the first point is clearly the loss of life. And then certainly here on a show where we cover LSU football, there's another piece to this. And as we talked about a number of times, like, everyone gets their day in court. And I certainly, as I sit here in this chair, don't know exactly what happened that day. I can only read the report from the police and the reporting that Chris Nakamoto at WAFB has come up with, and it's all right there on WAFB's website if you'd like to go check that out. But this is just a massive blow. This is a felony. There is homicide involved, and now the last thing on Kiren Lacy's mind can be football. This is a young man that enjoyed a phenomenal senior campaign at LSU, highlighted by the game-winning catch over Ole Miss in the end zone in overtime. And this is a guy who was invited to the Combine already. This is a guy who would have been, in my opinion, a 3rd or 4th round, 5th round draft pick and have a real chance to make a career in the NFL. And at this point, you look at that future, and all of it is really, really blurry and insignificant because you're talking about tragedy here in which Kiren Lacy appears to be involved. So there will be a day in court here, and we'll find out the entirety of this story. I know that Matt Moscona has just posted a story up at LouisianaSports.net that details Nakamoto's report. And as I sit here, I'll just be candid with you. It's jarring because I think about a young person with so much future ahead of them. And just, again, I'm trying to be careful because I want to let everyone have their day in court. We did this with Trey Holly, and this happened immediately, and a lot of details have emerged in that Trey Holly, and we don't have a resolution to it, but you have to let the judicial system play out. If this report is accurate, you look at it and you say, man, what a poor decision. You see young people that think they're invincible and oftentimes don't pay attention to rules and laws. And if you're just speeding on highways and passing people in no passing zones and going too fast and causing people to make decisions, it's just unnecessary. And you've talked about the tragedy that's gone on at Georgia with the death of 2 people affiliated with the football program, and you get young people making poor decisions all the time. And this one, if true, has resulted in tragedy. And it's there are a lot of layers to it. The most important is the loss of life. And then you think about a guy with his entire future in front of him that now has this on his plate due to some poor decisions, according to this report. So I don't have anything further to add to this. If you're just jumping in the car and going, what in the heck is he talking about? I'll just refresh here. Kiren Lacy is reportedly wanted on charges of negligent homicide and felony hit and run, according to Louisiana State Police. It was reported by Chris Nakamoto of WAFB. If you want to check that out, you certainly can over at the website, WAFB.com. And Matt's got a story up also at LouisianaSports.net. There's not a great way to transition out of that. I'm as surprised and kind of jarred by it as anyone. There's still plenty to talk about as far as sports this weekend, so we'll get to that. But we'll leave this in the rearview mirror. Just tragic news, and I don't have a great transition other than to go to break and come back and talk a little bit about football. So we'll do that next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil, Melissa Boudreaux, been at it for 40 years with Generac standby generators. Most of you, we're talking about homeowners, but also plenty of you out there, business owners, commercial property owners. If that's you and you want to make sure that the power doesn't go out where your business and your productivity happens, then call Neil and Melissa at Boudreaux's Electrical, because they handle commercial orders all the time. They've got plenty of manpower and plenty of resources to get that done. So give them a call at the numbers that I give you every single day. 985-397-1562 is the same number they've had for 40 years. That's 985-397-1562. You can also call them at their new Gonzales location, 225-300-9389. That's 225-300-9389. I give you the easy way every way as well. That's BoudreauxElectrical.com. Every single Generac home standby generator that comes from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical comes with a 7 to 10 year warranty. Not only do you get peace of mind to know that the power's not going to go out, but you also get peace of mind of knowing if anything goes wrong, they're going to replace it for 7 to 10 years. Boudreaux's Electrical. Find them online at BoudreauxElectrical.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
I'll tell you all this. I am really excited for the weekend to come in the National Football League. I think next weekend is generally regarded as the best weekend, or it was when you had 2 byes, because you got the 4 best teams in the sport engaged. Now there's only 1 bye, and you really got a lot of folks in the hopper this week too, so I'm pumped up. It starts tomorrow with a 3:30 kickoff from Houston. It'll be the 5-seed Chargers at the Texans. Chargers are a 3-point favorite on the road. Justin Herbert, one thing, like the Chargers have completely changed their identity under Jim Harbaugh, and that's not surprising because of how good a coach he is. But, I mean, you're talking about Justin Herbert. He threw 3 interceptions on the year. That's the fewest in the NFL. The question is, can he keep that going against the Texans defense? It's been great. They've got 19 interceptions on the year. That's the second most in the league. They allow the lowest completion percentage in the league. And one note that I looked up, ESPN had this note when I was digging for things on this game. This officiating crew that will call the game threw the 5th fewest flags this year and only called defensive holding 5 times all season. That's the fewest for any crew in the NFL. They're going to let these Texans DBs get their hands on San Diego. Now, we know that San Diego wants to run the ball. J.K. Dobbins is back, and he is a really talented player. That's where it starts, but I'm curious if Herbert is going to be able to have the same success against a really good Texans secondary. Stingley really involved in that. C.J. Stroud's the other side of this one. He's had a bit of a sophomore slump. His rookie year, 23 touchdowns and 5 picks. This year, 20 touchdowns and 12 picks. He was sacked 38 times last year, 52 this year. And Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa kind of know a thing or two about rushing the passer. Stroud, incidentally, 0-2 against Jim Harbaugh when he was at Ohio State. I think this is a running football game, not necessarily a throwing football game. I like the under in this game, but I also like the Chargers to go to Houston and win. I just don't feel like the Texans are quite what we thought they were going to be with Stroud emerging as one of the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks in the league. He's not right now. I'll take the Chargers running the football and making things happen. So give me the Chargers on the road in that game. 7 o'clock Saturday night, the Steelers are at Baltimore, the 6 seed versus the 3 seed. 9.5-point number. The Ravens are favored, obviously, because the Steelers have lost 4 in a row. And over the course of those 4 games, they've scored 14 points per game, which is awful. And they're 29th in the NFL in total defense over the last month. So that's not going to get it done against a Baltimore team that is as good as anybody in the league, I think. The Steelers are last in the NFL in first down yards per play. That's a tough way to make a living for Russell Wilson. They think that Justin Fields is going to be back to help this week, but that remains to be seen. The other part of this is Lamar Jackson in the postseason. Is he ready to step up and be the same guy in the postseason he is in the regular season? 2-4 in the postseason, and over those 6 games, 6 interceptions, 3 lost fumbles. That's 9 turnovers. That's just not the guy you see during the regular season. Ultimately, when I handicap this game, kind of look at it, I think the Steelers kind of stink right now. I think Mike Tomlin's an awesome coach. I don't think they're a threat in Baltimore at all. I'd probably lay the number, quite frankly, if you made me play it. 9.5 is the number. Then we get to Sunday, noon kickoff, Broncos and Bills from Orchard Park up in Buffalo. That's an 8-point number. The Bills are favored. The Broncos are in the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. Amazing what happens when you get a good coach. That tends to be the way things shake out. Josh Allen has 12 rushing touchdowns on the season. The Broncos have 12 rushing touchdowns on the season. I found that synergy pretty interesting. The Bills, under Joe Brady, have done a great job of ball security this year. Only 8 turnovers on the season. That is the fewest since the 2019 New Orleans Saints. Y'all can recall that team was pretty salty. Now, rookie quarterbacks over the last 10 years are 0-5 outright in the playoffs and 1-4 against the number. Bo Nix is going up against that. However, the Broncos' defense is good. They've got great guys out on the edge. Surtain, certainly chief among those. I think the Broncos can keep this within the number. I'd probably take the Bills to win, but 8 gives me some real cushion on the front end of that. I think Sean Payton's great. Give me the Broncos to cover and the Bills to win on that 8-point number. I'll be cooking a gumbo up right about this point in the afternoon on Sunday, and I cannot freaking wait for the last 2 games of the playoffs on Sunday. The Packers are at the Eagles. That's the 7-2 game in the NFC. Philly's laying 4.5 up there at the link. The Packers are hot. They've scored 30-plus in 5 of their last 7. That included 5 in a row from weeks 12 to 16. That's the longest streak they've had since the 60s. So they're really playing good on offense. Eagles have won 12 straight when Jalen Hurts plays the whole game. Washington did beat them with Kenny Pickett in there. But with Jalen Hurts in 12 wins in a row, that's a lot. But the way the Packers are playing on offense, I feel like 4.5 is too many. I would probably play the Packers here. Wouldn't surprise me if they went to Philly and won. I would probably once again take it in the middle. I would take the Packers and the points and the Eagles to win it by a field goal or a point there. But I think it's going to be an incredibly competitive game up in Philly. And then Sunday night, the one that a lot of folks down here will be locked in on. Commanders, the 6th seed in the NFC at Tampa Bay, the 3 seed. Bucs are a 3-point choice in this game. It's just been an incredible ascent for Jaden Daniels and this Washington team. In weeks 1 through 3, Washington allowed 29 points per game. That was 29th in the league. Weeks 14 through 18, that defense ranked 4th in the NFL in yards per game allowed. That's really, really an improvement for this Washington team. And you figure that with Dan Quinn calling the shots on defense. I think Marshawn Lattimore's healthy, and we know what that means with Mike Evans coming to town. Y'all are well aware of that storyline. He shut him down for a decade. So we'll see if he is healthy and if he can be the same guy he's been in New Orleans all these years. Todd Bowles in this Tampa Bay defense blitz a lot. And Jaden handles the blitz really well. He runs for 10.7 yards per carry against the blitz, and I think an interesting caveat to that is that no quarterback runs more against the blitz than Jaden Daniels. So it's not like he busted a couple and that's where the yards per carry come from against the blitz. No, he runs more than anybody, and he still runs for 10.7 yards per carry against the blitz. That could be a huge piece. His legs are really important. I didn't love how much he was running in that game against Philly a couple of weeks ago. I just thought he was really, really pushing it with how often he was getting hit, but did a great job in that game to lead him to victory. This is the thing with the Commanders, and it's not like a shocking thing. The Commanders did not have a good year last year. That's why they were in position to draft Jaden Daniels, and they got an easier schedule than most teams in the league. And so 10 of their wins came against teams with losing records. Okay, you got to step up, but do we think that Tampa is a juggernaut? I don't. It's a 3-point number. Maybe you're talking about Washington being a year away with Jaden. Maybe they need a little bit more on that roster. But maybe not. I'm going to go with Jaden in this game. I'm going to ride with my guy. It's a biased pick. It's purple and gold glasses. It's wanting with my heart instead of my head. But I like the way he's playing. I think he's hard to deal with. I think that Tampa is among the worst teams in all of the playoffs. So is Washington. But I'm not picking them to beat Kansas City or the Bills here. I'm picking them to beat the Bucs, and I feel okay about it.
Did anybody really think that Joe Burrow was ready to get to the Super Bowl whenever they did?
It was the second year.
It was, but still.
No, your answer is no. It's funny you asked that, because that was the first year we did Hunt and Hill, and we did an exercise starting in week 1 where basically the point of it was, okay, you can start with as many teams as you want, but we want you to start with as few as you can that can win the Super Bowl, and we'll pare it down every week. And the goal is to keep your list as short as possible without missing. And neither of us even started with the Bengals on the list, which is a pretty big list. I would imagine we had 14 teams on the list, and the Bengals weren't there. So I think the exercise was actually helpful in that it's that competitive, because I think you could have pared college football down pretty good. The NFL, even though it's got far fewer teams, has far more teams that have a chance to win, I would suggest. And that's interesting. And so, no, nobody expected the Bengals to be there at that point. I don't expect Washington to get all the way through this, but I think they can win on Sunday night.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do as well. The Buccaneers are not very good. They played in probably I don't know if you could say that the South was the worst division, because the AFC South was pretty bad too. But
it usually is, yes.
Yeah. So it was not a great division.
We figured that Houston would be really good, and they weren't really good.
Yeah, but the Bucs had some good wins this year. They also had some terrible losses. So depends on which Bucs team shows up.
I hope it's the bad one. And one of their wins this year was against Washington in week 1. They're going to be looking at a whole different dude in this game. I think Saturday is really good with Chargers and Texans. That should be a competitive game. And then Steelers-Ravens just has a great feel to it. Divisional ride, matchup, night game in Baltimore, the whole thing. But I don't think it's going to be that competitive. Sunday, just sign me up. Josh Allen and Joe Brady against Sean P. Then you got Packers-Eagles in that midday slot from Philly, which should be electrifying. And then Jaden and the Bucs. I think that's a double storyline for those in South Louisiana with Jaden on the field, and I think a lot of people don't like the Bucs. So I'm in for all of that. My bride asked me for a gumbo on Sunday. We're going to make that happen, and there's going to be a lot of football involved in all of that. So fired up to watch it and then talk about it coming up on Sunday. I feel the need to go back to the story if you're just jumping in the car and haven't heard this as we wrap up hour number 1. Chris Nakamoto of WAFB reporting that LSU standout Kiren Lacy wanted on charges of negligent homicide, felony hit and run, and the result of a mid-December accident that was fatal for a 78-year-old down in South Louisiana. So we talked about it a little bit in the previous segment. I didn't want to completely leave it in the rearview mirror. It's our job to kind of relay those things when they happen. So just tragic stuff, quite literally, with the loss of life. And I, it's just very disappointing to me to hear about a young person with all that in front of them and to have that happen. And that's another aspect of this story. It's just really, really sad from every single perspective. So we got a lot to do in hour number 2. Hope you all come back with us. Got to talk about the Saints and Aaron Glenn. They've wrapped up an interview. We're going to talk some LSU basketball as they host Ole Miss tomorrow. We'll talk with Sam Hutchins of the Jackson Clarion Ledger coming up in about 5 minutes. Still got to talk Texas and Ohio State as that's coming up tonight, which I'm excited to watch and kind of interested to see how that thing shakes out. So we've got a ton to do in the second hour. Our Friday shows are brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Check them out online at corksfishandshrimp.com. We're going to pause for SportsCenter. Hope you'll rejoin us for hour 2 coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. Tonight at the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, the second CFP semifinal game, Ohio State and Texas. The Buckeyes are a 6.5-point favorite on ESPN Bet. ESPN's Louis Riddick details the challenge for the Longhorns defense.
It's about limiting explosives. We know where Jeremiah Smith is. We saw what he looked like in the Rose Bowl. We know what Emeka Egbuka has looked like. These guys are game wreckers, and they are plus 20-yard chunk play, just on the regular. They produce these kinds of things.
Louis Riddick, coverage of Ohio State and Texas starts at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio, TV, and the app. Former Georgia quarterback Carson Beck will transfer to Miami. He'll have 1 year of eligibility after a change of heart about entering the NFL draft. Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts clears concussion protocol. He will play against the Packers on Sunday after missing the last 2 games of the regular season. The Browns, Jaguars, and Jets will each play home games in London next season.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. A lot of football talk in hour number 1. There's a lot of football talk to come in hour number 2. We'll talk Saints head coaching names and certainly Texas, Ohio State as well. There is some basketball to get to tomorrow. LSU and Ole Miss from the Pavilion there in Oxford. Be a big one for the Rebs, who are 2-0 in the league, and LSU is desperate for a win at 0-2. Sam Hutchins covers Ole Miss for the Jackson Clarion Ledger. Good enough to give us a little bit of time here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sam, thanks for that time. How are you?
Hunt, thanks for having me on. I'm good.
Feels like folks are genuinely pretty good in Oxford these days. Chris Beard's team appears to be playing well. Is there a lot of juice for basketball right now?
Yeah, there is. And, Ole Miss started well in the non-conference, right? But it felt like every team in the SEC did. So it was definitely a little of, will this keep up in SEC play? Ole Miss was 13-0 last year start in the non-conference, and then they missed out on the NCAA tournament. It didn't do well in the SEC. So this year, starting off 2-0, no juggernauts. Ole Miss beat Georgia and Arkansas. But, hey, two solid teams, 2 potential tournament teams there. So, conference wins are real hard to come by. So I think any 2-0 start is appreciated here in Oxford.
That's for sure. These conference wins are going to come like gold to just about everybody. What does your eye tell you with this Ole Miss team? Do you think they're good?
I do. And then I'll tell you why. Because that has almost kind of changed over these last first 2 games in SEC play. Ole Miss, they took a bad loss right before SEC play started. And not bad in terms of, they lost like a quad 4 game. But they got killed at Memphis in the FedEx Forum. And it kind of exposed an issue that, Chris Beard was the guy to bring it up. He even called it a Captain Obvious situation, that the Rebels their interior presence may be the missing piece on this team a little bit. Musa Cisse, a guy for Memphis, 7-footer, kind of cooked Ole Miss, and the Rebels struggled to rebound. But in these two SEC games, Ole Miss has kind of turned that around. And, the stats coming out of the team is Ole Miss has out-rebounded both Georgia and Arkansas. I don't read too much into that because Ole Miss has done it by 1 in both games. So, the Rebels aren't going to out-rebound teams by 15 boards or anything. But I think this team is a good team as long as they can keep that margin pretty close because the guard play is great, the defense is great, but it's just keeping teams off the glass that will kind of be the difference for the Rebels, I think.
LSU's been actually decent on the offensive glass. They've been atrocious on the defensive glass, and it's cost them dearly. And that's the biggest weakness, I think, on this team right now. So we'll see how things shake out. You mentioned that backcourt with Sean Padula, Jalen Murray. What is the strength of this Ole Miss backcourt?
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit of everything. And I say that because the turnover assist ratio, which is kind of the key to everything on offense a little bit, it's been great for the Rebels. Sean Padula has just been so good. Coming in from Virginia Tech, he's been a plug-and-play guy. Started every game at point guard for Ole Miss. And, we knew coming in he'd help a lot with just facilitating the offense and getting the team into good looks, but Sean Padula has also been the guy knocking down three-pointers. He's been a microwave that time and kind of the most reliable three-point option. I mean, I think if, the Rebels find themselves in a position down 2 tomorrow with 2 seconds to go in an inbound pass, I imagine Chris Good would draw that shot up for Sean Padula. So he's been a big piece of this offense. And you mentioned Jalen Murray, too. Those two guys have Murray's been coming off the bench a little bit these last couple of games in SEC play, but those two guys play a lot. When LSU fans watch the game on TV, those are two names that the fans need to watch out for.
When I think Chris Beard, I think defense. I think of what he built at Texas Tech early on there at Texas as well. I look at the defensive efficiency at 20th in the country right now. When you watch him play defense, what do you see?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. The in 20th in the country, that converts allowing a little less than 65 points a game. So Ole Miss has really excelled on defense. Specifically, though, it's been on three-pointers. Both Georgia and Arkansas, shots weren't falling for them, but in both games, a lot of that has been the Rebels contesting shots, switching, and making it so there's not a lot of open threes. I think Georgia started off 1 for 12 from three-pointers, and both Georgia and Arkansas have been good to great offensive teams coming in. So that's what makes Ole Miss so dangerous. They probably like to. I mean, they've shown they can win a game in the 80s, but whereas they want to keep teams as a game in the 60s. Or, I mean, Ole Miss held Georgia to 51. So if the Rebels can keep teams in the 50s or 60s in scoring, it will spell good things for Chris Beard's team.
I know the weather has not been great really anywhere in the Continental 48 at this point, but Ole Miss is 2-0. They're a ranked team. They're 13-2 overall, coming off a big win at Arkansas. Do you imagine it'll be a great crowd tomorrow and a really good environment at the Pavilion?
I think it'll be pretty good. The non-conference crowds weren't great, but the one SEC crowd at Georgia was pretty good. I'll tell you, Hunter, I'm looking out my window right now. I don't know what it looks like in the Mercedes studio that you're in Baton Rouge, but we definitely got snow on the ground here in Oxford, so it'll be a little dicey, I guess, sitting out on the road. So we'll see tomorrow, but Beard's been pushing for a good crowd. I expect it to be pretty solid here on Saturday tomorrow with not a ton else to do.
Well, stay warm and enjoy the basketball tomorrow, Sam. We appreciate a little bit of time here on this Friday.
Hunt, anytime. Appreciate it.
Sam Hutchins, Ole Miss beat writer for the Jackson Clarion Ledger. Snow up there in Oxford. I kind of figured that. Hester's in Dallas. They've got some snow. Oxford's a good bit north of here, pushing up there close to Memphis. So we'll see what kind of crowd tomorrow. I would imagine it'll be pretty good if some of that snow moves on. I want to give kind of my thoughts about Ole Miss and LSU in this segment as well to kind of piggyback on what Sam had to say. It's a little bit encouraging that Ole Miss is not great in the front court and they don't rebound fantastically well. He mentioned Moussa Cisse, who you all are very well aware of, part of the Will Wade, Dick Vitale whole thing. Back when Cisse was committing out of high school, he's kind of been all over the place as a college player, but he's at Memphis right now, and he gave Ole Miss a lot of trouble. And Memphis wore Ole Miss out by 17 points. But they've been really good outside of that one game. They're 13-2. They beat BYU out in San Diego. Their other loss is a 2-point loss to Purdue out in San Diego the next day. They beat Louisville in Louisville by 24 points. They held Georgia to 51. They held Arkansas to 66 in Bud Walton, winning both of those games. Beat Georgia by 12 and Arkansas by 7 points. Their offensive efficiency is 41st. Their defensive efficiency is 20th, so there's a balance there. Here's the big number with Ole Miss. They turn the ball over less often than any team in college basketball. They are number 1 in the nation in turnovers per game. They turn it over 9 times per game. As far as turning teams over, they do that as well. They're 16th in the country in turning teams over. Keep in mind, y'all know that LSU has had a disaster of a time trying to take care of the ball in the first half of these games in SEC play. You're opening SEC play with the 3 teams that force the most turnovers in the league. Missouri is 14th in the country. Ole Miss is 16th in the country. Vanderbilt is 17th in the country. LSU has no chance to go on the road if you turn it over 17 times and Ole Miss turns it over 7. If you give them 10 extra possessions, you have no chance. And the likelihood that LSU is going to turn Ole Miss over, who averages 9 per game, is going to turn them over 15 times is not very good. So you've got to keep your turnovers around 10, 11, 12. If you're right there within 2, you can survive. If it's 10, you can't. And I'm just not sure how more adamant Matt McMahon can be about this. You're not dealing with freshmen whose heads are spinning. Jordan Sears and Cam Carter have played college basketball forever and a day. Just slow down. Slow down. And be more decisive with the ball. They've done this in the second half of games. They did it in the second half against Vanderbilt. They did it in the second half against Missouri. Slow down. I know LSU has said, we want to play fast. We want to play fast. We don't have anybody to throw it to down in the post to score. Still, the turnovers are crippling. I would rather you play slow and get a bad shot up than play fast and get no shot up. And often they get no shot up. In the first 7 possessions of the game against Missouri, they had 4 turnovers without a shot. You can't play like that. You get down 19 points in the first half. Slow down and take care of it. A bad shot is better than no shot. I'd really like to try to get a good shot, but a bad shot is better than no shot. They have no chance if they turn the ball over too much. We mentioned the Ole Miss backcourt in this game. Sean Padula has been fantastic. He shoots 42% from 3. Jalen Murray shoots 42% from 3. Those guys are old. They're transfers. Padula comes from Virginia Tech. Murray's in his second year from St. Peter's. Was on that team that made a run in the NCAA tournament. The big in the starting lineup is Malik Dia. He's 6'9", 250 pounds. He's a junior. He transferred in from Belmont. He's not that skilled. He's a 43% shooter at 6'9". He shoots 62% from the free throw line. But he's the guy you've got to watch on the glass. He can get to the backboard, and that's crippled LSU. Ole Miss is just better than LSU, candidly. They've got better players. They shoot it better. They defend much better. They rebound a little bit better. They take care of the ball eons better, and they're at home. When this line comes out, I'm assuming it's going to be somewhere around 9 or 10. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm assuming it'll be around 9 or 10. I'm not predicting LSU to win, but I'm giving you the key here. Like, if LSU wants to have any chance, they've got to slow down. They're top 25 in the country in possessions per game. That's the way that Matt McMahon wants them to play. I understand it. It's not working. Ole Miss is comfortable playing a game in the 60s. Just play the game in the 60s. Because if you try to get up and down and run, you're going to do the things that you've done for 2 games and dribble the ball off your foot and make ill-advised passes to nobody and try to drive in and end up in the air with nowhere to throw it and throw it out. Like, these are things we've seen in the first 2 games that are maddening. If it's a freshman, I get it. It's not. It's veterans. So I realize that that's Ole Miss's pace to play in the 50s and 60s. Try it. See if you can limit the possessions, limit the shot attempts, shrink the score, and therefore keep the game closer. Because if you get up and down and you let Ole Miss score 80 and you turn it over 16 times and they turn it over 8, forget it. Lights out. They're in a position now that's it's really not advantageous, and we've talked about this. But I'm going to keep covering them and watching them and seeing if they can't turn a corner. They can win on Tuesday. Arkansas is gettable. If you can play a good 40 minutes in Oxford, knock down some shots, Cam Carter scores 26, something like that, all of a sudden we can start having a different conversation. But right now we're in a spot where they've lost their last 3 Power 5 games with the 2 conference games in SMU, and every time they lose, we don't really talk about the game. We have to talk about the program as a whole, and I don't really want to do that on Monday. So I'd really like it. They went out there and played well. I will certainly pick Ole Miss to win this game, and I would imagine they'll probably win it by double digits. That's the feeling I've got based on the consistency Ole Miss has played with all year and what LSU looks like right now. But I'll be watching from the pavilion. Hopefully it snows a little bit more and nobody from Ole Miss can show up. But that didn't help much against Missouri, did it? We'll come back and talk some college football playoff next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. How about safety? Every car in the line for Genesis was an IIHA top safety pick plus. Some of them top safety pick plus. I said top safety pick plus both times. All of them are top safety picks. Some are top safety picks plus. Safety is really, really important to the folks at Genesis, and it's probably really, really important to you. When the cars are sleek and stylish, get behind the wheel. They got all the bells and whistles you could want. It's a luxury vehicle, but that doesn't mean you can't afford it. Go check them out. Check out the pricing online. It's right there. Go see them, Airline and PQ. Get behind the wheel with one of those brand ambassadors. Let them show you what it means to be a Genesis driver. If you're thinking, I hate going to dealerships, that's okay. You don't have to. They'll come to you. They will come to you. If you're at home, you're at work, they'll bring a car to you, let you test drive it. You don't ever have to set foot at the facility. They've got e-contracts, digital delivery. You can buy a car without ever going to the dealership. It's all at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Airline and PQ. Every car on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary. For those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded. Because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered.
You're listening to The Hun Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
All right, college football playoff semifinals tonight. We had a big opening segment about the Brian Kelly, Marcus Freeman thing. I wasn't even planning on doing that, but the internet was so ablaze with it. I felt like it was a relevant local talking point, so we went with it. If you missed it, go back and catch it at the top of today's show. It'll also be available at Hunt on LSU. But I started that segment by saying how much I enjoyed last night. I thought it was awesome. Y'all know me. I don't really care to watch Boise State play football. I don't care to watch SMU play football. I don't respect Arizona State's football program at a national championship level. That's just the way that I feel. I might be wrong. I might be right. It doesn't really matter. That's how I feel. I will watch Notre Dame and Penn State play football, and I thought it was awesome. And I'm going to watch Ohio State and Texas play football, and I think it's awesome. And I think this college football playoff with 12 teams is awesome. I think seeing Notre Dame under the lights at night and Penn State under the lights at night in Columbus, Ohio, with Tennessee there, I think all of it's awesome. And I think the future is going to have Florida hosting Michigan and USC going to Clemson, and I think the whole thing rocks. And tonight, I'm super fired up to watch these massive brands with iconic uniforms and monster fan bases and tons of money and passion. I think it's going to be great. And I think that the winner of this game's got a really good chance to win the national championship. I think if Ohio State wins this game by 20 points, you can just cancel next week's game. I think if Texas wins this game, we've got a real battle on our hands. This is a sport, I believe, this year, and I don't think it's a trend moving forward. I think this year we've got a sport without a truly elite team. I think that the teams of this year would largely struggle with the Tua and Mac Jones Bama teams and the Burrow 19 team and even some of those Ohio State teams with like Dwayne Haskins throwing for a bajillion yards. I think they would struggle with the Urban Meyer Florida teams that were so good. I don't see the Georgia teams from 3 and 4 years ago. I don't think that these teams would do very well against. I don't know about the Michigan teams the last 2 years. That's a different deal. But I don't know if that's NIL and transfer portal. I don't know if it's quarterback play. I don't know if it's the parity that this era has created. I'll need a bigger sample size. But my eyes tell me that it's a little bit different. The only team that has broken free from that shell, to me, is Ohio State. They're the ones with the stars that can beat you 48-10 in the blink of an eye. And I don't think Notre Dame has it, and I don't think Penn State has it, and I don't think Texas has it. Texas, and to be clear, I think Notre Dame and Texas and Penn State have good physical defenses with pros. I think they've got tough offenses with really good running backs. Those running backs last night were awesome. Awesome to watch. But I don't think these quarterbacks are on that level. And I don't think these offenses are on that level. I mean, that's just my feeling on it. So tonight, you're going to see a team that I think is at the top of the sport in Ohio State, as far as talent and potential. But I think you're going to see a Texas team that's game. They're going to be fired up. There's going to be a lot of burnt orange in that place. I think Ohio State will travel plenty well. Flying from Cleveland or Cincinnati or Columbus to Dallas is doable. I get the weather, but it's doable. And I think that Texas has enough dudes to keep this thing very interesting. But I think there are only 3 possible outcomes. I think it's Ohio State big, Ohio State small, or Texas small. I don't think Texas big is out there. I cannot sit here and give you a good explanation for what in the world happened Thanksgiving weekend between Ohio State and Michigan. I do not know. I cannot figure that one out for you. But I can tell you what I've seen in 2 games against talented teams, against Tennessee and Oregon, and one team was men and the other was boys. And Texas, I think, is better than those 2 teams, top to bottom. But Texas has been vulnerable. Didn't look good against Georgia. Didn't look great against Vanderbilt. But Sark's good coach. Ewers can sling it. They're creative. They've got pros on defense. And I think they can keep this thing competitive. I don't know what you do with Jeremiah Smith. I'm not really sure how you cover him with college players. He's just one of those guys that's different dude. And so as I look at it, and I look at what Ryan Day has done against everyone that's not Michigan, I think it's probably his time to get this whole thing done. And if you're an LSU fan that is caught up on this Notre Dame thing, which I did a segment on it, but I introed saying I don't really care, then you want Ohio State to win this game. And you want them to win this game by 20. Because that tells me that they've hit their stride and there's nothing that's going to stop them. And if this team beats Texas by 20 and you think Riley Leonard can keep up with that, God bless you, because that ain't happening. Riley Leonard can keep up with Drew Aller. He can keep up with Curtis Rourke, but he can't keep up with Jeremiah Smith. Like that. He can't keep up with Crenshaw Judsons and Travion Henderson. So going to be a scene tonight. My gut tells me that Ohio State wins it by like 10. I think they may lead by 17 at one point, and Texas comes back and gets a late score. I don't expect Texas to have the ball late with a chance to win. I would be more surprised if that happened than I would be if Ohio State won by 24. I just think the cream has risen. Y'all know me. I'm very, very predictable. I like 5-star recruits. I like first-round picks. Ohio State, their entire fan base got fed up and frustrated by Michigan and said, screw that. Harbaugh's gone. Where's the money? Get the dudes. And they went and got Caleb Downs, and they went and got Quinshon Judkins, and they went and got a bunch of dudes to go with all the 5-star recruits they already signed, which is a lot at Ohio State. And they've built the best roster. And it didn't always look like the best roster, but they did beat Penn State, and they did avenge that loss to Oregon. And unless Will Howard turns it over a couple times, unless Texas can get a pass rush and create some game-changing plays, if this thing kind of goes to script, give me Ohio State by 10, 14 points. That's where I am on this one. Beck, I'm assuming you'll be watching this one tonight. You giving the Longhorns any chance?
I'll give them a chance because I think their defense is really good. But it's hard, man, after what Ohio State did to Oregon, it's hard not to... Recency
bias is powerful.
It is. It's very powerful. And it's hard for me to not see Ohio State win this game by, at least 2 scores. But Texas has a chance because of their defense, but Quinn Ewers he's going to have to play. He's going to have to play his best game because he hasn't. It's in there. He just hasn't really showed it, in a whole 4 quarters so far yet in the playoff. But he can do it, and if their defense holds up, they got a chance. But man, it's hard for me to see any other outcome than Ohio State winning by 2.
I would like to be in that dome tonight.
That would be nice.
I think that's going to be a great environment. I'm curious. It looked to me on TV last night that Notre Dame and Penn State both showed up in Miami. That's a lot of traveling to ask people to do.
It is.
And if you got Ohio State fans that are going to Pasadena and then to Dallas and then to Atlanta, like that's a lot of flying around the country. You got, Texas fans don't have to fly to this one. You can get there pretty quick. So that's an advantage to them. And I can promise you Dallas to Atlanta is not a hard flight to find.
No.
Houston to Atlanta, not a hard flight to find. You can make that work if you need to. So I'm fired up to watch tonight, and I got Ohio State covering the number, but we'll see. I'll be pulling for Ohio State. I guess I have to do that. I haven't flipped the switch on
weird.
Texas
It's
yet.
weird to think that they're in the SEC now.
I mean, they did steal some recruits from LSU this year. I should have gotten into that number. I just don't have I think it may need to be on the field for me to really feel it, and certainly it got to that point with Texas A&M. I'll pull for Ohio State. I'm fine with that. We'll get that done. All right, we'll come back. Let's talk Aaron Glenn. The Saints wrapped up their interview with him. They've got more to come this weekend. We'll talk about that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio, video, security solutions, avssla.com is that website. Whether it's whole home audio, all of your video needs, your security, they've got you covered at AVSS. If you're building a home, whether it's right now, you're about to start, or you've got that in mind in the coming year, call Mitchell Fisher and Audio Video Security Solutions before you start building, because the installation of all of your electronics and all of your surround sound and all that can be done as the house is erected, and that makes life a lot easier as just part of the move-in. It's something Mitchell Fisher and his team do all the time. They love to work on houses under construction. It just makes life a lot easier for them. They're happy to help you if your house is already built. But if you're under construction, he wanted me to make sure to lead to tell y'all to make sure to give him a phone call. And the beauty of it is I can give you a cell phone number. You're talking to the owner of the company, 225-439-7920. It's 225-439-7920. Check them out on Instagram. They had some great stuff just yesterday on their Instagram feed. It's at AVSS_BR. Give them a follow so you can kind of see some of the cool things that they do with home entertainment systems. And maybe you see an idea that you'd like them to handle at your home. It's Audio Video Security Solutions. They're online at avssla.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
It's 30 minutes to go here on a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Craving a po' boy? Corks got you covered on the po' boy front. Delicious jumbo Gulf shrimp po' boy, fully dressed. Get the catfish po' boy as well. Side of those crispy shoestring fries. A little coleslaw, the honey butter rolls. Don't forget the beignet bites as well. But back to po' boys, where I initially started here. A lot of people ask all the time, like, where do you get a good po' boy in Baton Rouge? Corks can give you a great po' boy. And they'll do it quickly, that drive-thru over there. Government between Foster and Jefferson. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. Ross Jackson's done a fantastic job covering the LSU coaching search over at LouisianaSports.net. Did I say LSU?
You did.
Well, that's wrong. It's the Saints. LSU, not in a coaching search. Saints, in a coaching search. Ross, not covering the LSU coaching search at all, is, in fact, covering the Saints covering search. And it's been great. He's got updates on all the interviews as they happen. And Aaron Glenn conducted an interview with the Saints virtually, which is the only way he is allowed to do so until Detroit has been eliminated from the postseason. And that can't happen for another week because the Lions have the number 1 seed and a bye. I have given a lot of thought to Aaron Glenn because everyone you ask, everyone thinks that Aaron Glenn is the front runner to be the Saints' next head coach. And I've spent a lot of time suggesting that I would like the Saints to deviate from the past, to break open and free from this Sean Payton era and go do something new. And Aaron Glenn spent time here in the Sean Payton era. He was on the team in 2008, and then he was a defensive backs coach from 16 to 20. And that gives him a lot of experience in that era and feels comfortable. And we all kind of sit here and go, hey, be uncomfortable. Do something different, Saints. But I want to be fair and kind of give this a look holistically at what you're doing with Aaron Glenn, if he is, in fact, the pick. And I'll say this. Aaron Glenn played the position of cornerback at a high level and has really been in two very, very healthy organizations over the last 10 years. The Saints from 16 to 20 were among the best organizations in the NFL. Great culture, tons of wins, playoff success, now heartbreak certainly, but a really quality organization through that run. And then he jumped to Detroit and started from the ground up with Dan Campbell, who, yes, is part of the Sean Payton coaching tree, but everyone can look at what they're doing in Detroit and understand that there is a ton of buy-in and quality culture and excellent football being played there. So you're talking about a guy who has seen the highest level of organizational structure and has seen a lot of success over the course of 10 years. Now, he saw Detroit at the bottom of the barrel at Campbell's beginning and how that was built up and what that took. And all of that's very, very positive. All the while, his defense this year has been a significant positive. It's hard to evaluate because of the injuries. It would be better if Hayden Hutchinson didn't miss all this time. It would be better if they didn't look up and have a whole heap of guys on IR. But even so, they've stemmed the tide and played really good defense. They were awesome in that game against Minnesota to close the season. Awesome. So, as I evaluated on the whole, I think that he does fit my criteria of wanting to have a schematic background. I was a little lukewarm on the John Harbaugh, Dan Campbell, Darren Rizzi decision that would be like, oh, we'll just get the guy who's a culture guy. I like some X's and O's in my head coach. I'm not suggesting that John Harbaugh and Dan Campbell have no idea what's going on either side of the ball. That's not what I mean. But I feel like Aaron Glenn, having run a defense over the last 4 seasons, knows how to run the X's and O's of things, and that's something that's important, I think, in selecting the next coach. And everyone seems to suggest that Aaron Glenn is a phenomenal guy in the building, a great leader, a great communicator, someone that all the players really rally around and like, and understanding what the Saints are coming from. Man, what a fresh air breath that would be. So, yes, in summation, like, there is a part of me that's hesitant here. I want something brand new. I've told y'all Todd Monken has been my pick, and there's no indication that Todd Monken's even interviewing for this job, but that's the guy that I came up with at the top of this whole thing. I like the offensive perspective. I like the fact that he's been a head coach. I like the fact that he's brand new and new to the organization. I like all those things, and Glenn doesn't check those boxes. He's not offensive. He does come from this organization. He's never been a head coach. So there's reasons why I don't like Glenn. But as you assess things and start to look at it from the entirety of the picture, like, I can get on board with it. Good player, been inside the game at the highest level, seen 2 different organizations hum, albeit with some connective tissue. And I can get on board with it. If Glenn's the guy, it's going to take some time. I think Detroit's going to be in the playoffs for another at least 2 weeks. I don't think they're going to lose next week. They could, but I don't think they are. So you're looking at 2 more weeks, and then do you make that decision? I'm curious how thorough this search is going to be moving forward. We had a flurry of names that came forward. They're conducting some interviews. They still have to interview Darren Rizzi next week. Glenn's is done virtually, but it feels like if you're going to hire a coach, it probably needs to be a face-to-face interaction, and they can't get that until the Lions are done. So we're still in the infancy of this. I don't love the fact that he's a Texas A&M Aggie, staying in that family, just like DA was. Probably an unfair shot there. Definitely an unfair shot there, but it is what it is. I can get on board with it. I think it's reasonable. There are other things that I might prefer. Again, not the hottest take you've ever heard, just trying to assess the situation as wholly as I can. So we'll continue to address all the candidates as they come up. That's kind of my thought on it for the day here today. Aaron Glenn makes some sense. Probably going to take some time. We'll assess it if that is where the Saints decide to go ultimately. If you're looking for Saints coverage, you can find it at LouisianaSports.net. You can also find it at Hunt on Saints on YouTube or wherever you find your podcast or your sound. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google. Hunt Palmer Show, Hunt on Saints. It's all right there wherever you find your sound. Let's take a timeout, come back. We'll briefly touch on LSU and Ole Miss basketball one more time. We'll play some Take It or Leave It, and we'll get out of here for the weekend on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com. There's probably a lot of folks in Southern California right now that thinking to themselves, insurance, that just costs so much. Just get it over with, out of the way. And you certainly don't mean to make light of literal tragedy. It's awful what's going on out there. But insurance is going to help a lot of people because tragedy happens, awful circumstances present themselves, and if you're not prepared for that, it can be even worse. And the Highland Insurance Group is here to be a trusted source for your insurance. They can make sure that your commercial insurance program is placed in the proper market. That means pricing and coverage. They've got dozens of markets at their disposal as an independent broker. So give them a call. Make sure that your EPL insurance is in the right place. Make sure your D&O insurance is in place. Make sure your cyber coverage is proper. Make sure your umbrella limits are where they need to be. If all that seems a little bit foreign to you and you're a business owner or someone that's in charge of your insurance program, you ought to be able to trust your insurance broker to make sure all that's right. And Jonathan Carbo and his team at the Highland Insurance Group can be trusted. I've spoken with them on many times. I have background in the industry. I know good people when I see them. Highland Insurance Group is certainly that. Trust them with your insurance in 2025. Go to the website, HighlandIG.com. That's for Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews.
You're listening to The Hun Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
The drive to the College Football National Championship will be aired on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We've got Ohio State and Texas tonight at 6:30, and we will also have the National Championship that coming up in a few weeks here. We've also got Wild Card Weekend in the playoffs that will start tomorrow at 3:30, and the Texans host the Chargers, followed by the Steelers and Ravens at 7 p.m. Then Sunday, it's the Broncos and Bills at noon, Packers and Eagles at 3:30, and the Fighting Jaden and Daniels Commanders and Buccaneers at 7 p.m. And then Monday, the Rams host the Vikings at 7 p.m. You can catch all of those at your home for the NFL playoffs and Super Bowl 59, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
News of the day, tragic news today. If you're just jumping in the car and have not heard, per WAFB and Chris Nakamoto's reporting, Kiren Lacy, LSU wide receiver, had a warrant issued for his arrest. It's for negligent homicide and felony hit and run in a December 17th, 2024 accident that involved a death of Herman Hall, a 78-year-old former Marine. He was in a Kia and was transported to the hospital where he died from his injuries. So nothing more to report on that from the folks at WAFB. I'm sure Matt, over the course of the next 3 hours, will have some of that, but wanted to pass that along as we just about get on down the road here on this Friday. We're brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Back, we got one more order of business, and that is take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it or leave it.
All righty, first one here. Corey Connors, Hunt, That's
what
your
in
fantasy
the world?
golf pick.
Why did you put this in the doc?
In the Sony Open this week, you had a terrible pick last week. Sahith Theegala finished, 57th or something out of 60.
It's almost a weekend.
Your fantasy golf pick is currently on the cut line with 8 holes to play. Your start to the season is already bad as expected. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Do you have another one we can get to?
I mean, we do, but
ridiculous.
we do,
I'm being
but you're gonna
ridiculed on my own show.
Hunt, whenever you make bad
is a
picks,
great
it's going to
pick.
happen, okay?
It's disheartening that you would do that on the air. Live on the air, try to humiliate me.
Well, what else am I
Make
supposed to do?
some birdies, Corey, please.
He's made some, but he's still on the cut line. He's got 8 holes to play.
Should not have trusted a
looking
Canadian
good.
in winter golf.
What were you thinking?
It's January. They don't play golf in January.
No. All right, next one. Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson. The saga continues. Apparently, he tore his Achilles again and had surgery yesterday. The team announced Watson's recovery time and return to play status is uncertain, and he likely will miss significant time in the 2025 season, the Browns said in a statement. This is just getting funnier by the day. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I don't want a guy to tear his Achilles, but I will say this. I will leave it. It's not getting funnier. But I will say this. That is going to go down as the worst contract in sports history. There's no way to even try to go a different. They fully guaranteed all that money, took that PR hit. He came back, played horribly, got hurt, tried to rehab from the injury, and got hurt again, and is going to miss 2 years of football because of it. That is an atrocious contract.
So here's what apparently happened. During his season-ending exit interview earlier this week, Watson complained of discomfort after rolling his ankle while in Miami. A subsequent MRI revealed MRI revealed a re-rupture to his Achilles tendon. The team said Watson met Thursday with Dr. Robert Anderson before undergoing the surgery. Just incredible stuff.
That's a bad contract there.
This is quite shocking. It really is. All right, next one. Ex-Georgia quarterback Carson Beck is committed to Miami, basically in direct defense of what you said yesterday, saying that he was going to be Thatcher Hurd.
Contradictory, yeah.
Yeah, contradictory. Yeah, I didn't know what to say there. But anyways, Beck going to Miami. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I was on the morning show this morning with T-Bob and Ribs, and we were talking about it. I just felt like he was keeping options open. We did some more research and found out that you have to declare in or out of the draft by February the 6th, so we would see. He could not go to an SEC team because the portal window is closed. He didn't do this quickly enough to keep all of his options open, which was kind of weird. But he does have a Miami vibe. He's just kind of got that kind of personality. The Cavender girl that he dates plays basketball at Miami. He can drive the Lambo on South Beach and kind of fit right in there. He is worth more in college football than he is to the NFL. My point was that, this is an NFL that drafts Mitch Trubisky, and it drafts Jake Locker, and it drafts
Blake
Bortles. It drafts Paxton Lynch. I feel like Bo Nix. I feel like you got a chance to cash in a bad quarterback draft and be a first or second round pick and leave college in the rearview mirror. But we're in a world where college can pay more than pros now, so have at it. I'm sure Miami will throw a ton of cash at it.
Yeah, apparently $4 million is the word around the 1 year.
Yeah, I don't see the Steelers coughing up $4 million for
No,
him.
I don't think so. All right, one more here. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. Wow, I haven't done that one in a while. And Derek Stingley Jr., all first-team All-Pros in the NFL.
Dude,
take it or leave it.
I will take it.
I'll take it.
That is incredible. I did read that Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson.
I almost got you, huh?
Justin Jefferson are unanimous first-team All-Pros, which is absolutely absurd for one college team to produce that, and then for Stingley to be an All-Pro for the first time as well is incredible.
Also pretty crazy. Pat Surtain, also a first-team All-Pro, was a little bit of a lean to LSU. A lot of people thought he might commit to LSU. And
that was
Alabama,
in the time where they were getting all the number one corners.
Can you imagine Pat Surtain and Derek Stingley both had gone to LSU and also
were healthy? I've got a theory on that. I got a theory. If they would have been healthy and played in that Mississippi State game, I don't think KJ Costello would have set the SEC record for passing yards.
I don't think so either.
Just a theory.
Yeah.
Maybe if you had Surtain and Stingley out there in man coverage, KJ Costello, who got benched 3 weeks later, probably doesn't throw for 650.
Yeah, probably not.
I was sitting there on the bleachers with a mask on my face watching Mike Leach run crossing routes. Do you remember what they did after they won that game? They did a promo on the field with him like ringing a cowbell like in a wagon or something. Get on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to strike all the irons hot, I suppose.
Yeah.
That'll always be a great year in LSU football history.
Also, another mark on the Saints and their ability to keep the right free agents.
Okay.
Trey Hendrickson and Zach Bond, both first-team All-Pros.
That's good.
Yeah, they both played for the Saints.
I was listening to Mike Triplett on AFR yesterday, and he said that Zach Bond was the best linebacker in the NFL.
Remember whenever everybody for the Saints thought he couldn't play linebacker?
We had him on hanging with Hester, and when we were in the 6 to 8 slot, when they made all those draft picks, he was one of the ones. He and Adam Troutman were in the same class, and we had.
By the way, also
Zach
had a good
Bond
season
on.
with the Broncos.
So yeah, I mean, I've talked to Zach Bond. Best linebacker in the league, I guess. Yeah, they draft great. They just don't.
They
keep
do.
Him. They
Just
keep
can't keep
Marcus Davenport and make sure Peyton Turner's on the roster. Lock him up,
absolutely.
baby. Gotta have him. Awesome, sweet. Also, make sure that Kendra Miller's on the team too.
Yes.
He helps out.
Yes.
All right, that's it on a Friday edition on the Palmer Show, presented by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. If you missed any of the show, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube as well. We got Hunt on Saints and Hunt on LSU. I opened the show today. You'll want to go check it out. Talking about the Brian Kelly and Marcus Freeman thing. I don't really think it's a discussion. The entire internet thinks it's a discussion, so we went into it. Preston Guy talks some LSU football with us. We had LSU Ole Miss basketball talk. You can hear that. Hoops with Hunt, wherever you find your sound. LSU and Ole Miss tomorrow from the Pavilion. I don't like the Tigers' chances in that one, quite frankly, but we'll react to it coming up. Tomorrow I previewed the weekend to come in the National Football League, which I'm stoked about, as well as the college football semifinal that'll be played tonight from Dallas, Texas. Go catch that on demand. Hope everybody has a wonderful and very safe weekend. Hopefully it warms up around here. That's going to drive you home next on After Further Review. I'm out of here. We'll see y'all tomorrow, same time, same place, for a Monday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that